Ian hasn't discovered Audible.com yet. He's been using his smartphone mainly for music, mostly boy bands, his girlfriend's favorite. Yes, life was good for Ian until his girlfriend's father asked if he'd read any good books lately, to which he could only reply, "Ooh, baby. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Baby, baby, baby. Ooh." Avoid the fate of the now single Ian and use your smartphone smarter. Try one of the hundreds of thousands of titles at Audible.com, an Amazon company. Click the banner to download your first audiobook free.
Check, check.
Whoa.
Check. Oop. Shit. Got my mic glitching out. Connection's bad. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. I'm not getting my headphones. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm getting a late start today. I'm checking the level. Checking. There we go. It was sounding really glitchy to me. Turning off my headphone monitor because it's weird to hear your own voice. I got one of these snowball mics, these little chrome ones that are pretty awesome. Every time I read your name, Satan, I think, "Hello, Satan," in my head when I type it out that way. Oh, okay. I'm doing these Loomis studies. Loomis? I still don't know. I keep forgetting to look it up. But long story short, if this is your first time joining me, I'm going through the book, The Figure for All It's Worth, basically page by page, and doing studies live and narrating my thought process. And it's mainly going to be for anyone that has never done this kind of stuff on their own, because lots of people don't know how to use these books, and I didn't know for a long time. I kind of compare some of the stuff that we were doing in the book versus the art school that I went to, and explain maybe how a teacher would teach this stuff versus how you need to teach yourself. And I try to keep each study under an hour and a half, and they stay archived on my channel Anyway, I'm going to be doing something else I'll be doing something else this week too, where I'm going to go through my portfolio and I'm going to do paint-overs of my own work because I had kind of an epiphany these past couple days about my work and what I'm just not doing, and this deliberate choice I've been making to not do that stuff for no reason whatsoever. And I'll explain more of that later as I ramble on. But I'm going to go ahead and go into the book first. I only have one screen open, so I can't see the chat right now. But I'll check back. But literally, you'll see me check the chat. So if I'll I'll check it like this, and you'll notice if I'm actually seeing your messages or not. I could actually sign on my phone and see the chat through my phone, which might be a cool idea, but it might eat up my bandwidth because I have shitty connection right now. Let's get into the study, though. Okay, so I went through a quick breakdown. We went through exercise 1, which I put down. I did this first exercise, and I started reading through the beginning of the book and you'll find that on my live stream channel. It should still be out there, and if not, I can upload them to YouTube. I think I just need to chop it up into smaller bits. But I went through and I read through these pages on my own. I didn't bother reading that on live stream because you read it yourself, But I break down. There's lots of good information in here, and it's all the same stuff you hear on other live streams, and the same stuff you hear on all the critiques and all the paint overs that everyone's doing. It's basically talking about some of the basics of just where to begin, the fundamentals. So I went through this little numbered list of what to do, and it says consistent gray throughout, and it's talking about making sure you have proper contrast in your drawings, and an overabundance of the small fuzzy line. I did a bad job of not doing that yesterday or last time. What I mean by that is let me pull up a good brush to use here. I just need something basic. This will be fine. No, that's too much. Here we go. So I was doing the fuzzy line thing because it's like you pet the line. It's actually more of you slowly, as if you're carving the shape out, which isn't the goal for these exercises. You're supposed to make flowing strokes. So if you wanted to create that shape, you're training your hand to just reproduce the shape. And I had a drawing professor that talked to us about this, and it was basically why do this when the stroke you want is that? And I mean, obviously you're not going to get it in the first stroke, but to train your hand to just make the mark that you want it to make will be more valuable than forcing this curve out of nowhere. If you have a bigger Wacom tablet, you'd probably be able to use your elbow a lot more. I'm on the small, so it's a lot of wrist movement. But this makes a lot more sense if you're standing in front of a big easel with a giant piece of paper and a piece of charcoal or a pencil, because that's what we were doing. Ooh, crap. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's do this. So let's say this is the tan paper then. Let me pretend this is a mid-tone, maybe a little lighter. This will be our tan. And then that means I'm going to use a red. My blacks will be this dark red here. And then I'll use whites or something. Not that it matters, because we're not going over any kind of value in this exercise. We're solely focusing on perspective, and it's actually going to be a really boring exercise today. Or at least it's boring to me because I don't like technical drawings. I don't like having to sit in there and place in the exact perfect perspectives. But let's look at the book. We went through exercise 1. Exercise 1 was basically you create this image, but you follow the steps outlined here on the bottom, and you got to make the marks first, and then from the guides you draw in your character. or your body. And it's awkward. It's awkward, and it's something you don't normally do. And the whole point of the exercise is to make your mind focus on proportions, and it's all about proportions in this first exercise. And the same with the second. The second was this woman. I had some issues because some of the measurements saying one head across didn't match up with the woman's head, and then I kind of was wondering whether or not he was referring to a man's head for the woman's proportion also. Anyway, I got through the exercise, and the point is I learned a lot. Some of the disclaimers I always kind of read out is that these books were made for commercial illustrators, and they're trying to draw the ideal figures, meaning that they're picking out the models, quote unquote, for their ads. So some of these proportions are not going to be true to life, and it's even stated here that the normal person's about 7.5 heads, and that's normal. So if normal means no one, because everyone's different, then the average person is 7.5 heads, and then most people fall. Some people are 4 feet tall, some people are 7 feet tall, and it just changes. I mean, even big guys like this 9-head heroic man in real life, most of the people that are this big don't look, unless they're bodybuilders, they're not going to be that bulky. So they're going to look tall and lanky, and there'll be those actors that play monsters in movies all the time. I skipped this. I don't really want to draw the ideal proportions at various ages. If the time comes that I need to draw children, I'll use reference for children, or I'll come back and do this later. But at this point, I wanted to get onto a more basic exercise, which is drawing the body in perspective. So I'm going to read through this page and follow along with this page. I think we're going to probably continue it to this, and then I'm going to stop before I get to here, because I just want to kind of focus on the perspective stuff. So it says here how to produce the flat diagram onto the ground plane, vanishing point. So we're going to have to create this vanishing point grid system here. Fill in 16 units by following the flat diagram. That means we're going to have to make our own flat diagram, this, to reference while we make our drawing. You can look at the book and try and recreate it from the book, but it's pointless to recreate it from the book if you don't have your own practice creating this diagram, because this diagram is basically a sped up version of the first exercise that we did. So we're going to go through this again, this time a lot faster, and I'm probably not going to ramble on as much about making the thighs and all this other crap. So it says, let's continue reading. Flat diagram. And from the flat diagram, we're going to translate the bottom line, A, B, C, straight down to A, B, C. We're going to come up here, create another horizontal. We're going to offset that horizontal. And it looks like just beyond B. Looks like A starts just beyond B. And then C will be over here, right? We're going to use, I'm going to use the Photoshop tool holding shift to make straight lines. If you're using pencil and paper, grab a ruler or straight edge. If I'm going too fast, it's because I'm working digitally. Digitally. I always seem to have trouble saying that. Pause the video if it's not live. Pause it and just kind of keep up with it. Let's read this text here. The flat diagram is no more than a tracing of a shadow with only 2 dimensions, but it is our map. So we can't do without it until we know the way, right? So once you learn the path, you don't need a map, right? So we're making our map, which is the shadow diagram. We're going to start with this diagram here in the top left corner, because that's going to be our reference for all this stuff. Once we draw this stuff is a matter of referencing the first drawing, right? And then they're going to end up using this diagram to put bodies in perspective as needed. So if in the future you need to draw a guy sitting down and you really can't get it, you're just not understanding how to do it, you could actually draw in this whole diagram and just place the body in perspective visually and then of course you erase or delete that layer, and you'll have the last body remaining. Flat diagram in a seated pose. So we see here that in the seated pose, these two boxes are going to become horizontal. Excuse me. I like hiccups right now. Showing the principle applies to difficult foreshortening to be explained, right? Showing how the principle applies to difficult foreshortening to be explained. Okay, so that's going to be explained later. It looks like I read that the wrong way at first. 2 ways of rendering the box in the flat diagram. In perspective, you are urged to learn this now. If it will help out, it will help out in many difficulties later on, right? So like we said, the point of this flat diagram exercise is that we are learning the map, and in the future we're going to know this map so well that we're not going to need to use this anymore. But if you don't ever look at the map, you're going to have to do it the hard way. And there's a way to learn you can learn your way around a city by walking around all day, and it'll take you like a couple weeks to get used to walking around. Or you can go look at a map and just do it the smart way. Or you can get a GPS, which is probably the fastest way. Anyway, so let's take a look again. Flat diagram ABC. We read all the little words here. 1 1/3 heads. That's the same as our first exercise. 8 heads high because we're drawing the ideal advertising man. So let's go ahead and begin by drawing a head, because our units are heads. It doesn't matter how big you draw it right now, unless it's a piece of paper, in which case allow for space. Allow for your, I'm just going to do it real quick. Allow for the paper space you need. Right? So don't worry about making it perfect. It's not the point of the exercise. As long as it is identified as a head, or, that general shape of a human head. It doesn't matter about the square jaw or feminine jaw or anything like that. Well, I guess it kind of matters about the square jaw, because technically we're drawing a male figure. And I placed this on the wrong layer. So let me just screw it. Create new layer. Make it easier if you're working digitally. If you're on paper, then just don't mess up. Don't erase though. Don't sit there and erase everything you're working on, because it's to see your mistakes and correct them is a big thing. So if you're doing these exercises and practicing, you don't need to correct and make it exactly perfect, because the whole point is that it's exercise. You're not supposed to make it perfect. You're supposed to be struggling and trying to get this down because you're learning. And you're going to see me struggle on these things. I'm not really trying to teach so much as I'm just doing the exercise on my own. And everything you hear me say, all the little mistakes I'm making, it's just because that's the troubles I'm having through the exercise. I've never done these before. I've been drawing for a long time, but I don't normally sit and do these diagrams. They're boring to me. But same thing with mathematicians doing multiplication problems to just strengthen your foundations. So if you ever meet accountants, they can do math really fast in their head because they're doing math all the time. In the same way I can draw a decent drawing really fast to an accountant, even though it might look like crap. They're impressed because they can't do that unless they draw all the time in their spare time, in which case they could. Okay, so we got the head. With the head as our guide, I'm going to make it just a little smaller because it looks a little too big for my page right now. We're going to create 8 divisions. Make a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and just keep these pretty separate. I'll merge this guide layer into the bottom. Oh crap! Into the bottom layer once I. Right. Anyway, one head. I'm just going to visually notch off the head marks. I don't want to. I could move the head layer down and literally make it 8 heads, but part of the practice would be to use your eyes and guesstimate if it looks a little off. Just redo it. At this point, erase if you need to, because these are your guides you're going to follow for the rest of the exercise. But on the actual rendering of the dude, don't sit there and try and make him perfect. Get the guides down, because the guides are what you're actually following. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a little too. 7, 8. That's about right. And if it's a little off, so be it. I'm going to get better at eyeballing stuff through this exercise, right? We're going to make the edge of the box straight down. I'm going to turn this. I've got my transfer mode on. It's opacity to pin pressure. I'm going to turn that off because I want a nice dark line when I make the lines. I'm not worried about variations in opacity or delicate little marks. I will do this. I'm going to move the head over now. The box width is supposed to be 2 1/3 heads, so I'm going to not make it exactly on the head just because it's kind of like an eyeballing thing. I'm not going to sit here and put it right up against the head. Just give it a little space. Did I just draw that on the wrong layer? Yep. And right, so mind your layers and then Control Z if you need to for these guides, just because you're going to be using this thing for the rest of the exercise. And if it's pencil and paper, just don't mess up. Ideally, you do this on pencil and paper because you just have to get it right, like otherwise you got chicken scratch, and like if you don't have it right, it's okay because that's the learning part, but in your mind you're trying to make it perfect. Sup, not a fool. Not full. Gonna only listen then. Cool. Skype. Not full. I'm streaming some Loomis, whatever. Screw it. Alright, so we got 2 head marks out. I'm going to move the head over one more time. I'm actually going to go ahead and divide that extra third. That's about a third right there. And we're dividing it straight down, straight up. That's great. Look at the diagram. The diagram's only got one division line. So, if that's a third, 1/3 is 2/6. So each little square is supposed to be a head and a sixth. That way, when you combine them, it's 2 heads and a third, right? So this middle line doesn't actually belong here. That was only to get my initial guide for the second head. Gosh, I'm gonna zoom out. Okay. This line doesn't belong here because that was the edge of the second head mark, and we want 2 heads and a third. And we're just going to complete this box. Right? And we're going to divide it directly in half. Just try and get it on there. If you got a ruler and pencil and paper, you probably already got that done. There we go. Erase some of the extra just to give us some space to work with. This exercise might go on longer than an hour just because I gotta sit here and draw these lines out. Really, you have to draw the guides out and make them match, or else it defeats the purpose of this exercise. Fill in the grid. Just follow the initial marks you made. I always get to this thing where like I feel like the rectangle that we're using is super narrow, but maybe I've just been drawing people wrong all my life. Anyway, I'm gonna move the head. I'm just gonna use this head now because I already drew it. I'm gonna fill in the body. Now we're gonna go through some quick stuff that we did last time. The body cannot be wider than this box, and we're gonna end the pectoral muscles a third of the way down from this line. Oh, let me number it, because starting from the bottom line, the ground level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right, so at line 6 should be you should be seeing the bottom of the pectoral muscle. At line 5, you're going to be lining up the elbows. At line 4, you can have the groin and wrist lining up. At line 3, you're going to have thighs. At line 2, you're going to have the bottom of the knees, and line 1, the bottom of the calves, and then finally on line 0, that's the bottom of the feet. And the guy's going to be standing at attention, so you're almost never going to draw this pose because it's such a specific, like, the dude's at attention, you know, like, it's such a specific pose. It's unless you're drawing a soldier at attention, you know, you're almost never going to draw it. The other thing about a pose like that, I mean, even like concept art, you're probably going to want to have his arms out to kind of show the movement and range of motion that the character has. At least I would prefer that if I were the art director or the guy having to make the model. I'm just making the neck now and putting in the shoulders. I'm not spending too much time on it. I'm not trying to make it... I'm following the guides. I'm not trying to make it too perfect. I don't want it to look like I spent an hour just drawing this guy, because we still got to do the whole exercise. This is just the first part. We're kind of like... It's like we're making our ruler that we're going to use for the rest of the exercise. So we're like making the tool to use later. So, spend some time making your tool, but don't add Bluetooth, because it's not required right now. Under the 6th line, bottom of the pectoral muscles, it's almost like, oh, you know what, if you designed Oscars, this would be like the go-to model. Arms. I'm trying to jump side to side and not stick to one side and switch. I'm trying not to do that thing where like I draw all the left and I draw all the right. If you are working digitally, don't do that shortcut of drawing one side then flipping it and just copying and pasting it down, because that's not the point of the exercise. I mean, if in your normal work that's a fast thing to get you past a step that you need to get through, then by all means do that, and then, you know, from there you'd work it up to look different. But don't take the shortcuts here, because that's not the point of the exercise. There's no point in taking shortcuts in a lesson. And really, that shortcut is pointless, because no one's completely perfect. No one's completely symmetrical. No one. So if you want to draw an actual realistic anything, there's going to be a lack of symmetry. I've got this thing where I guess I drew my heads really tall and narrow. Maybe we should do exercise on how to draw heads. I'm going to widen the box, because they're like squares in the diagram, and my guy looks like a deformed person. There we go. That just looks better. It just looks better. I'm going to shrink his head just a little bit now, because now his head looks too fat, because the jawline and the neck should be lining up. There we go. I'm going to erase some of the side just because it looks nasty. clean it up just to make it look a little presentable. Anyway. Okay, back to work. Arms, shoulders, down to elbows, line 5. Elbows all the way to the wrists at line 4. Go back up. I'm just kind of drawing over myself where I messed up a little bit. It's not important to me to focus on any kind of rendering whatsoever. Not now. Not at this point. This is the groin, which means these are the wrists. Hands will fall somewhere right around here. Hands will fall somewhere right around here. Thighs. The bottom of the knees are above here. He's at tension, so don't draw the knees too far apart. That was my first mistake on the first exercise. I drew them like in a stance, like legs slightly spread apart. Because to me, I'm used to drawing dudes not standing completely at attention. So that's what I did. Oh wow, it looks really terrible. I'm gonna do some cleanup here. His torso looks really long. Right. Okay, continuing down past the calves to the ankles. The foot is like flat facing you, so it's going to look kind of strange when you're drawing it. And like I said before in these other exercises, I'm not focused on I'm focused on proportions, but I'm not trying to focus on making this a beautiful image. I'm trying to just learn from what I'm doing. Putting the body in this little grid here. I kind of like learning a lot, but also just realizing, I don't know, I feel like I'm really slow at doing this. I don't normally do this kind of like drawing a body, and it looks way too tall. Looks way too tall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I'm gonna do this thing I did last time where like I explained that if you're working on stuff, Photoshop's just frozen. Here we go. If you're working on stuff and it just looks off, you're just not gonna. It's just never gonna be good. It's not gonna magically become better. If you could tell it looks off, and you know it's off, there's something weird about it, and you don't want to investigate it, and you just want to like accept, like, well, maybe once I turn it in, it's gonna look better somehow. That's false. It's not gonna happen. I used to get that a lot when I was doing costume stuff at my old job. People didn't know how to paint things, like faux painting, and we had lots of the same rules in like fine art. Like I didn't like people using black too much. I liked them using dark colors, but not pure black. Or I liked them using straight black and white, and I'll explain that some other time. But if you like just now, the guy looks so off. It just looked so terribly off. I just couldn't. I've drawn enough men to know that's not how it looks. It's just, I mean, there might be some people out there that look that way, but you look strange. And if you look that way, I'm sorry. You look strange. I was eating through, I was just ravaging those critter critiques recently with Dan and Dave. These old ones they did back when they were like really doing them. And they're just awesome. Like, I listened to the interviews. I've listened to some of their just talks or just the rants that they've gone through together. But the most important thing was those critiques. And if you listen to my other live streams, you'll know I used to work at a haunted house. I was a art director / production designer / the artist there. I was like the guy that painted all the sets, and I did lots of the character designs well, when I had a chance to, I tried to like push to do the character designs and some of the set designs. But I've had this part of me that's been the art director, production designer guy, and then I have this part of me that's been the artist, illustrator guy, and for some reason I never brought those two parts of me together to communicate. For no reason whatsoever, I just haven't done it. I used to review portfolios for makeup artists and people that like doing costumes and stuff, and it's pretty much the same exact thing. You know, it's almost the same as doing being like an art director working for any other company. You gotta like see that they have technical skills, but the more important thing is that they have good ideas. In my case, if they didn't have good ideas but they had technical skills, I could supply them with ideas. But if they didn't have a portfolio, I didn't even bother to look at anything they did because they weren't dedicated enough, in my opinion. Which is funny because I didn't have a portfolio at the time. I didn't have like a makeup portfolio because I wasn't striving to be a makeup artist. But I got that job solely through like pure networking and like volunteering my time and losing sleep. But anyway, long story short, I got the two parts of my brain to finally communicate just a couple days ago, really, which makes no sense. And I realized through some of those critter critiques, mostly through the critter critiques, that's what like spurred it. That was what made it just click all of a sudden. Like, oh, why the hell have I been doing this? Is that I just haven't been thinking like an art director when I'm making my own drawings. And that's kind of prompted me to want to do these live streams this week and next. Mainly next week. I'm going to go through my portfolio and do paint overs of my own work because I'm not happy with lots of the work there. And I know exactly why I'm not happy with it. And I'm just, until now, decided let's just make the changes because it's all personal work in my portfolio right now. So there's no one telling me what to do or not to do other than myself. And if you watch those critter critiques, you'll learn that when you're creating work for yourself, you have to want to create it. And it's such an obvious thing. It's such a stupid, obvious thing to like say, but everyone doesn't do it. At one point, everyone thinks, I guess I'll just draw knights, because knights are on magic cards. Or they think, I guess I need to draw a ton of spaceships, because I want to work on a movie with spaceships. But they don't just draw what you want. You don't just draw what you want to draw. You draw things that you think other people want you to draw. And I've been doing a lot of that. So I'm going to stop that, go through my portfolio, do paint overs of all my work, and I'm going to try and do all this within the next week and a half. Because I'm going to South by Southwest this year. And I want to present a decent, well thought out portfolio versus the one I have right now. I'll go back into that later. Let's go back into the study. Okay. We did our flat diagram. And the next part of this flat diagram is we're going to keep everything labeled. So on the bottom, it's going to be A, B, and C. We're going to follow with that book, which is A, B, and C. I'm going to flatten my diagram together so the guides and the figure are now on the same layer. And I'm going to transform it, holding shift, to a smaller scaled version. And it's going to really be my... Oh, crap. It's going to really be my ruler guide for the rest of this exercise. Okay, so now he's taking up like the top quarter of my page instead of like half of the page. And we're going to look back. I'm going to call this layer ruler or guide. And if you're doing it on pencil and paper, hope you had a big enough piece of paper. Next. Okay. We're going to first do this translation to the left. It's got dotted lines to show you exactly what you need to do. And so that's where I'd go. I'd stop myself from doing this because it's going to it's bringing in new elements that I don't want to get to yet. And in my mind, if I was not reading this aloud online, I would just be thinking, let's just follow what it says. So follow the directions. Straight down, dotted lines, And we're going to recreate A, B, and C. From A, B, and C, I'm probably actually just going to copy and paste, put my guide up here, and subdivide it by 8. This guy, let's see what does it say. Third diagonal. The diagonals divide each grid unit directly in half, and continue the next grid unit so that each 4 grid units, it can be subdivided into a triangle. If you're not watching this, you'll understand when you're looking at the picture in the book, or if you watch the stream. So anyway, let's do the translation. I'm going to make a new layer. This is going to be called, I'm just going to say translation, just because it's easier that way. I'm trying to use the same word choice throughout this so I don't confuse people. I'm going to change the colors just for the sake of like showing y'all where I am. I'm going to change it to blue. I'm just going to go blue. Light blue. So it's going to be obvious. So all these dotted lines will be blue on mine, and all the actual grid lines will go back to that red. Okay, translation. So we're going to go straight down from A. Just going to hold shift, pull that line down. Hold shift on C, pull that line down. I don't want that line there. There we go. I'm not going to draw in B because that's just kind of redundant. It's going to divide that. Recreating A, B, and C. There we go. Let's label A, B, C. Oh, that's a shitty C. C, there we go. I find it incredibly hard to write on these things, these Wacom tablets. I also prefer the larger one. I used to have a larger one at my old job, and it was wonderful. So I'm going to end up getting another one later. With the Intuos 5 too, and it'll be like wireless and awesome. Okay, so I got A, B, and C. I'll make one new layer. I'm just making the guides. I'm just gonna copy and paste it. The real part's gonna be filling in the figure. Oops. Filling in the figure is gonna be the main bulk of what we're doing here. So, crap. Let's cancel that. Undo. Anyway. Okay. Pulling this line up. I'm gonna offset it. How much did we see? A is offset by like a unit and like a sixth, maybe a fourth. It doesn't really matter, but I'm trying to match that drawing just for the sake of the challenge of matching the drawing. There we go. I'm just gonna put these two layers together. Okay, so those are the markers. I'm gonna get. Did he draw the figure in here? He doesn't actually draw the figure in, but we're gonna fill the figure in on this diagram here, which will kind of relate to this example up here. Because I don't want to sit here and draw boxes. I want to draw the figure in perspective. So I'm going to fill anywhere there's not a figure in boxes. I'm going to put a figure in those boxes. So let's do that. I'm going to, let me see. Let me make the box first. Line, deselect, undo. Oh, there we go. Make a new layer, make a line. If you're going through and making the mistakes I'm doing, whatever. Just, whoa, don't transform the line. Translate the line. Right. Creating my little grid in order to draw the figure. I'm not trying to practice drawing grids. That's why I'm doing the copy and pasting right now. Because the point of this exercise is to draw the figure. To me, it is. I mean, if you wanted to sit here and draw the grid out and practice your grid drawing skills, then by all means, practice your grid drawing skills. But like I said, I'm not trying to teach this book. I'm trying to just go through the book and let people follow along with my thought process. My thought process is I want to learn how to draw the body. I don't want to learn how to draw lines. I know how to draw lines. And if I didn't know how to draw lines, Photoshop can make lines for me automatically. Not that I should utilize that as a crutch, but, you know, there's harder things to draw. Just kind of connect the dots here. Move it over slightly. There we go. Probably slanted. There's not really a vanishing point in this diagram, on this particular section that we're drawing. We're going to go up 8 segments. The top line is 8. Oh, you know what? Is it the vanishing point? Does it continue all the way up to the top of the page? I wonder if that's that happened. In that case, we need to draw the vanishing point, and we do need to pay attention to everything that I just said not to pay attention to. Let's make believe our vanishing point is right here. And because we're making believe it is, it will happen. I'm going to delete these guides that I just drew in because I want to utilize a vanishing point. Let's label stuff. Vanishing point layer. That's just for the vanishing point, right? So I'm not going to draw on that. I just don't want to draw on it. I want to use these guides. We'll call this layer guides. This is going to go to our vanishing point. Okay. And now let's do our make-believe ruler thing. Drawing a line. I'm going to move it over to the vanishing point. And if you want to rotate it on the vanishing point, you take the point of origin, which you can't see because it's such a small selection. You take the point of origin and you move it to the vanishing point. That way you can rotate along the vanishing point. Mother crap. Anyway, if it's a bigger selection, it's a lot easier to do. I can't see that right now, and I'm not going to sit here and fiddle with it. There's no point. There's no point to it. Rotate, rotate. Just make a matchup. You want to get that. And the only reason I'm doing this now is because it looked like the drawing vanishing point in the drawing was the same vanishing point on the top selection, which may or may not be true. So, alright, there we go. Select. I'm going to copy, select all, copy, paste. Do a second line there, and you got to make it face the vanishing point, right? Let's just make it, let's just follow that. Let's just follow these lines instead now. So that means my translation guide here will be, move this up. Just move that there. I'm gonna widen this part out. I'm gonna erase this. I know I'm doing like this stuff that the book didn't do that. But this is gonna be better. This is better because I'm drawing in perspective, and the whole point of the exercise is drawing in perspective. So it's kind of stupid for me to not do this and follow a vanishing point, even though I know that the whole book just, I mean, I just got through saying I'll follow along with the book and everything, but there was this whole translation thing we did earlier, but I'm just going to go ahead and go in perspective right now. So if that line here, I'm going to say that the bottom is over here, right? And then if this is C, and this is A, then you want your B right in the middle. And let me just complete that. Right, somewhere right there. B, there we go, that's our halfway mark. And then let's, if this is 8 and this is 1, one's gonna be like right here. There's gonna be a little challenge for me here. Let's see. 1. We're making the marks of our subdivisions, our 8 heads. 2, 3, 4, 5. Photoshop's doing this thing where it connects my dots. It thinks I'm trying to do this connect the dot thing. 6, 7. I guess that's supposed to be 8, so let me 8, 7. I'll move this line. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, draw on the grid. Follow along with the first steps. And it should prove to be a challenge. I'm just going to flatten this whole thing. I just don't want to deal with all these layers right now. This is supposed to be practice. You don't have to do that. Y'all don't have to do that thing at all. Whatever. But okay, I'm just going to start drawing on the figure. So, from what I saw earlier, the head's going to be like right around here. I'm going to just place in the arms. Remember, the arms go down. The top of the shoulder is supposed to be a third away from the second line from the head. So you slope down to about a third of the way, and it's harder to see this way because it's like, you know, it's all skewed now because we're in perspective. Our line 6, which would be right here, that's the bottom of the pectorals, so we're going to go ahead and put those in. Right? Line 5 was the elbows, so we're going to continue down, and I'm going to make these little V's. That's where the elbows are, right? Little V elbow. You're naturally going to be like widening the figure slightly. Just follow it visually. Line 4 is the groin, but also the wrists. And so you're going to bring the forearms down, and the wrists have to start on line 4. Same here. Forearms go down, wrists start on line 4. And you go back up. Hips out. Hips out. Line 3, that's the top of the quads. We'll go ahead and put in our hands right there. It's a lot more. I have a lot. Those hands are slightly more symbolic than real hands, but I get the idea. Inside of the thigh, the quads, line 2 is the bottom of the knee. Let's put those in. Bottom of the knee. Remember, the side of the knee has like this straight part where the muscle just completely, what do you call that? It slopes in towards the joint. So we're going to go from the widest part of the thigh sloping in towards the joint where the knee is, and then in there's all the connective tissue and whatnot. Out from the calf, and the bottom of the calf is going to be the calf's going to kind of end, at least that visual mass that is the calf is going to end on line 1, and then you're going to go into your ankle and work into the bottom of the foot. And remember, this is completely flat and two-dimensional. Like right now I'm fighting the urge to like to try and like draw it at a slight angle for some reason. I can feel it. I'm trying to do that, but there's no point in doing that. Slope. Just like very crappily sketching it in terribly, using the exact same method I told you not to use at the beginning. Whatever. I mean, not whatever. You're not supposed to do that, but I don't normally do that in my own sketches anyway, and my digital paintings, they do start with tone, so I'm going to give myself that bullshit excuse. There we go. That's about right. I'm just going to clean it up a tiny bit so it's readable, so it doesn't look like I just completely tried to blow this off as like a finished thing. There might be some imperfections. That's okay. There might be some distortions in the image. that's okay too. Because this is all the learning and the studying part. And like I said last time, this is you making your math notes on a math equation. Like what you had to do is sit here and do an algebra equation. You pull a piece of paper off to the side and draw a ton of numbers and addition and multiplication, scribble and erase and do all that stuff, so that later on when you actually fill in the answer on the regular homework page, it looks all neat and clean. So this is our dirty working environment, so that our actual work that we're presenting out to people will be nice and clean. Right, there we go. So 1 down. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4 to go. 5 to go. It's a lot of drawings for this one. My phone just went off. Sorry, guys. I'm getting lots of emails too. Okay. Excuse me real quick while I check those. Every now and then I had to get like a quick, like, you have to do this thing right now. And by thing I mean work. And by work I mean draw. So, okay, anyway. Back to what we're doing. Alright. We drew this thing. I could tell it's slightly off. To me, it looks like this side of the dude is kind of lifting up. If he were made of paper, this would be the shadow. And he'd be lifting up by the wind, blown away. But he's not, so... But to me, that's because that line's so dark, it looks like I was trying to draw some kind of 3 dimensions into it. But I wasn't. It's just me forcing in my sketches. Wow. Okay. Next. 2 ways of rendering the box of the flat diagram in perspective. You're urged to learn both, if it will help you in many difficulties later on. So this is the way we used, which was we created these lines by continuing to the vanishing point. And that was the one method, right? So method 2 is divide by diagonals until there are 8 crosses, 8 cross spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8. Anyway, we're gonna try this method here, and I guess we need to go ahead and focus on the lines in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. I'm not going to count here. Okay. It looks like he even drew that box in the same perspective as this vanishing point. It looks like he could have used that same vanishing point to draw this. And in my mind right now, I'm just going through ways I can avoid drawing this, but I'm going to draw it, so whatever. Let's make the top of the box here, bottom of the box here, and according to this guy, we're going to be starting at 1 and then numbering up to 8. Oh, I see what he did here. He flipped it. I'm going to start at 0 and number up to 8, only because we've been doing that. And you all can make your own decisions when you do this on your own. 8. So 0, 8. I'm going to go ahead and make the first line and just go for it, right? There we go. No ruler, no tools. Just sketching a quick line. According to this, we need to start making marks, and then from those marks we got to create diagonals, and from those diagonals we're going to learn where the halfway points are. But you know what, I bet you the smarter way to do it is to start at the halfway points. So if this is A and that's B and C is here, let's make the line go all the way to C. We'll say that line right there is C, and this line right here is B. And this line is halfway between A and B, which is important because that's one of our guides to create point 3. So point 1, point 2, point 3 connects directly across to the midpoint of A and B. And if you're not watching this, it's going to be real confusing, I guess. Pose maniacs. I have not used that. I have this thing about I think it's one of those CG ones. I don't like the CG stuff. It just looks so obviously CG, and for me to reference that, I feel like it would make my drawings look like I drew from a CG thing. But I did collect all the reference that Crimson Daggers had in like their in this reference material on the forum. If you go to resources, I collected like all the actual model reference that included real people and photographs, and there's a bunch of cool stuff. I'm not going to go through it on here because there's a bunch of naked people, and I just don't want to do that. Maybe another point we'll do like some kind of life drawing that's not life drawing, which would be called photograph drawing. But I went through and got all that. Basically every website that works is in this new folder now, which I call Model Ref, and it's right here at the beginning where I can just look up any of these resources that were listed on the Crimson Daggers forum at any point if I needed to. Really though, if I need reference, I just take a picture of myself. Like whatever it is I need, I just do it, or get someone I know to do it, just for the sake of getting exactly what I want, instead of having to scour the internet for random poses. That I'd rather have lighting on a correct pose, than, and then like change from there, than find a bunch of random stuff. But I like to do practice where I'll find reference online and force it to like different expressions or different lighting situations just for practice. I'm sorry, I'm answering my phone real quick. Okay. Back to work. Anyway, yeah, so all the resources are here in this folder. It's really convenient. I suggest doing this. I only did it last night. I mean, I've looked up references before, but last night was my first time to really do that. I also spent a long time reading composition articles on composition and brushstrokes, which is something I really need to work on. As brushstrokes and composition, I just wanted to just kind of read exactly what there was written about it, just for the sake of learning some stuff. This is line 2. I'm going back on the drawing now. Okay, so up to line 2, line 1, and then, oh crap, see, I misnumbered it. Our line 2 is line 1. This is going to be a bunch of bullshit. Our line 2 is line 1. Our line 3, it's supposed to connect line 1. Our line 2 should connect to there. Our line 3 should be right here. That should connect. At line 5 we should go to line B, which I don't know if that's helping or not. Whatever. Whatever. I'll tell visually if it looks weird, and then I can adjust. Because that's how you're going to have to really do it, if you're actually looking at models for life drawing or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. I'll adjust the lines after I mark them down. That's the easier way for me to work. Oh, 8's up here, so that's right. So, I'm being dumb. So 8, 7. 7 would be here, probably, because you're going to get larger as you go down. I'm just eyeballing it. I don't think it said use the vanishing point. This is method 2, which we're supposed to know how to learn both ways. So I'm doing that right now. So let's see. If that's 8, and then 2 connects to halfway B, 4 connects to B, and C connects all the way back up through to 8. 8 will be where C connects. Well, that helps. So these are things I should have paid attention to at the beginning, but I'm doing now. So this is going to go directly down to C. And 7 connects to 5 on the midpoint of A and B. So 1, 2, 3, 4 should be like right here, because that connects here. 5, 6, 7, and so 7 here is going to have a diagonal. 6 is going to have a diagonal. Yeah, don't listen to this and try and follow along. I just numbered it differently. I'm not going to go back and change it. I just want to get through this. So 6, okay, sorry. 6 is going to be our midpoint. 2. 6 is going to be midpoint to 5, which I think is my 4. No, I'm right. You skip 1. So you skip 1, line, skip 1, line, skip 1, and line. That's it. Let's do that. Skip 1, line, skip 1, line. Skip 1. It should be a line, which goes down to our midpoint of 5. So this would the 5 on the drawing is our 4 because I numbered it shittily. 4, which means 4 is here. That's our halfway point. Now that you have your halfway point established, it's easier to work now. If you're watching this on the stream, or if you're watching this on an archive video, I highly suggest you stick with the damn numbering of the book the way I said at the beginning, and I just went against my own advice. So, let's stick back to what we're doing here. I just got through the first division. Right here it says first division. Another diagonal to find the other corner. So we're making kind of a big X to define our corners that should meet here. So it's like, okay, it's going to be something like this. And then if the corner is right here, then that means our end of line C, which is our end of the box, is going to be right here, around there. Just going to force it in with my pin. Line B, line 5. If you look here, line 5, which is the midpoint, will connect to B on the opposite direction. In my case, line 4 is the midpoint. And if I go all the way back up, it should connect with the midpoint, which is B, right there. This connects all the way down, B to B, and it should hit right here in the center. Line 8 has a little X in it because that connects to 7 and the midpoint of A and B. In my case, it's 6. So go up. Line 6 is going to connect to the midpoint of A and B. And line 7 is the line that's going to have the X in it. I'm going to use the rule. Hold shift. And from there, you just you go through and you mark the X's that you put in. You cross through the X's, and that's how you create the grid. Let's read along and follow the words of the book. Don't go your own path. And we already went through this last time too. I don't know why I do this to myself. It's a learning experience. That's what it is. I'm just going to use that excuse. Right, so one of those lines is slightly off. I know it because I realized there was a division missing. What it was that I didn't line 6 up here, which is line 7 on the diagram. It actually connects all the way down to midpoint of B and C. I'm just going to throw that in there just because I want to. B and C. This would connect up here. When I say this, I meant line 3 is going to connect to your top midpoint. That would complete the graph here. And if you connect midpoint of A and B to the top midpoint of A and B, you should have a little row of X's. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. And that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, mine's a little off. But, right, anyway. This is a way that you can force yourself to make a crappy grid And now I'm going to stick a body in it. It's not perfect. I'm not going to care anymore. I am going to care, but I'm not going to care. I just had to do the method. The book said learn the method, so I'm just going to follow along with what that book said. Because we're learning from this book, and if it were a different book, we do it differently. And if it were just me drawing on my own, I would never have drawn any of this. I would have drawn in what I thought was correct, and then gone back, looked at reference, and made corrections on the body. And that's what I would have done. So, let's get to drawing. It might look a little off, but 8 is so the top of the head is. Put in the head, neck, halfway down. We're going to disregard that this box is in any way connected to that vanishing point, because it's not. And right now it's bothering my eyes to look up here and see that vanish. It looks like I just completely messed up, which I probably did mess up in a little bit, but I'm not following this vanishing point, and I'm pretty sure his drawing is, but because of the space I have, mine isn't. So visually, I just don't like that. It looks like I'm just completely screwed up as far as my technique here goes. Anyway, let's draw in the body. The widest point is supposed to be the shoulders. The head's probably a little smaller. Line 6 to the bottom of the pectoral muscles. Forcing it in there. 5 is the elbows. 4 is the wrist. There we go. 5 is the elbows. 4 is the wrist. Going down. 4 is also the groin, which means that's where we start the legs. Let's go down. Remember, he's at tension, so your leg is going to kind of come in tight to this point on 2, which is the bottom of the knees. There you go. And then from the bottom of the knees, going to go calf to 1. Calf to 1, bottom of the calf to 1, and then you complete the bottom of the foot. It should actually be slightly larger because this is slightly in perspective, but it's not the same perspective. It's off, and I don't like the way it looks at all. But anyway, y'all get the drift, and I hope yours looks better than mine. But anyway, long story short, based on the 2 methods that we just used, I would never draw a gridded box like this. I just don't like it, and there's other methods to do it. So as far as like getting tools for your toolbox of drawing, I would stay away from that one. Me personally, I would stay away from having to draw the box like that. It's a nice learning tool, but I don't ever see a need to draw the grid based on a series of diagonals at intersecting points when I could just make a box in Photoshop and use the perspective tool, which is probably what I would really do, because I like to use the tools I do have, and Photoshop is a great tool. Right, next. But let's look at that real quick though. So I just made this box, these grids in perspective, 2 different ways. What would I really have done? I would have made the damn grid. If I had to draw this gridded form, I would have made it with the pen tool, brush tool, and then I would have used my perspective tool to force it to the shape I want, or the distortion tool. But you can see exactly how hard it would have been to create this from scratch, and you can see how much the tool is. It's the crutch, literally the crutch. So like, if I was walking around with crutches all day and I had a hurt ankle, and I never, ever did physical rehabilitation, like if I broke my foot, and one day I decided just not to use the crutches anymore, I wouldn't know how to walk because I've been only functioning on crutches, right? So this is me right here. This is me not knowing how to walk because I've been utilizing tools that I just rely heavily on. And once I let go of those crutches, you can see that I had fun. I had a hard time walking. This was okay, actually. I've done perspective stuff like this, but this was really a visual telltale of like what it means to use only Photoshop and digital tools, and never to learn, technical, traditional analog techniques, because it'll expose how much you don't know or how much you've been relying on a computer to help you. And I've been using it a lot. I'll be honest. I mean, it's obvious. Even if I was lying to you, you could tell I haven't been using like traditional drawing techniques to learn this stuff. So it's good that I'm doing the study. It's great. And when I started this, I said I really don't like doing stuff with guides. I don't like having to draw the guides in and stuff. When I say that, it's me giving my bullshit excuse that this is hard and I don't want to do it, right? Like if I was like a student in your classroom, that's my excuse to you, the teacher, going like, but it's hard. But that's not an excuse, because you just got to learn how to do it. And it won't be hard. If I did this every single day, I'd be awesome at it. If all I did was drawing perspective body grids, it'd be amazing. I would never need to use the perspective tool or the distortion tool, because I'm just so good at drawing perspective body grids. Let's continue. I'm going to use a vanishing point for these next few ones, and I'm going to kind of go through this as fast as I can and get this exercise over with. I'll keep talking, and I'll be explaining some of my plans to do paint over some of my own work and how I came to that decision. But first, let's follow along with this perspective, just because this is important. Following the perspective helps, and following the vanishing point helps. And I will never use this method because I just really don't like it. I'd much rather would just follow exactly the vanishing point that's established and utilize that tool. Let's say that line. Let's say this line is the end of the box, and I'm gonna force the body in. However big this box ends up being, I'm gonna kind of force it into that. It'll be a challenge. I'm probably going to widen my canvas. I don't have to widen my canvas. It's just there we go. So if that's line 1, let's say this is line 0, and this is line 8. So that means his head's going to be up here. I'm going to just subdivide this real quick. So let's see, 1, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I guess I'll make it wider. No, I don't want to make it wider. I want to see what I just did there. I almost made the drawing dictate what I was going to do, when I want to dictate what the drawing is. I was almost going to just widen it because I didn't get it right, when I shouldn't. I should just get it right. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, maybe 3, 2, I think this is wrong. 2, 1. 1's way over here. I'm going to fill that in without continuing to enlarge the canvas, because I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because I'm not giving myself anything. Like, God damn it, I'll do it. I'll do it because I need to draw the feet, and I want to draw the body in perspective. There we go. Look, there's one right there. This is the study session. So far, this has been most of them. Most of these have been me suffering through some of this stuff. I think I know how to draw pretty well. I've drawn all my life, but it kind of puts you in your place. If you don't do these regularly, it really does put you in your place. It's like, oh shit, I need to practice. And I just leave these as a monument to where I was at this point in my life when I started this year. And in a few years, as I keep doing these, people will be like, "You're so good at these studies." And I'll say, "Watch my first videos." Because I wasn't. Actually, I won't ever be good at these studies, because by the time I get good at these studies, I'm going to get on to other studies that are really hard, and I won't be ever good at the studies. Because that's the whole point, is you don't want to suddenly just be an expert in it. If you're an expert in one thing and there's a bunch of other stuff you're not good at, you gotta go and do all the other stuff you're not good at. And as far as drawing goes, I mean, I wouldn't try and become an expert in like cooking. I like cooking, but I wouldn't strive to become a professional chef when I have another industry I'm trying to get into. That was almost spot on. Maybe a little off. So I'm just setting up this using the vanishing point. It's my preferred method. I went along with what Andrew said. Andrew's the author. I say Andrew because I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. So I'm just going the easy way out and calling him Andrew. As if I knew him. I didn't know him, obviously. I'm using this method because I like it better. I like following a vanishing point. If I'm going to grid things out, I like to be really precise. And the other method was hard. But this is also part of the exercise. This follows the same grid perspective up here. That's really the reason. So let's flatten this whole damn thing. I'm just too many layers right now. Not for this. Not for this. This handled it pressed. Okay. We drew the head in. It looks a little off, but it's not too bad. Neck. Shoulders down. A third of the way down is top of the shoulders. The widest part of the shoulders is going to be way out here, and then the widest part of these shoulders, this shoulder, is going to be way over here, and then it's going to come in, and on this line you're going to have the bottom of the pectoral muscles, just like the first time we did this on exercise 1. And then wow, okay, I feel like this is a lot. Of course, see, so what I did here is I just realized that I'm not following the real perspective. I got to make the shoulder go all the way down to here, and this is the bicep, and this is the elbow. Oh, that's the wrong way. And this is the forearm. And then the wrist goes past 4. And then this little area right here is the hand. It's just a crappy hand I'm just going to throw in there. Follow down. The navel lines up with the elbow. The groin lines up with the wrist. Don't know if you heard that. It was kind of like a weird hiccup burp thing. I don't know what it was. Elbow. This is it. It's almost. I almost can't really. I know that's supposed to be the edge, but I almost just made a bunch of scribbles and call that on. Let me clean that up a bit. Conform to the box. Conform to the restraints of this exercise. The cheating on these exercises and just drawing it, like oh, I'll just fucking draw it. Like, it doesn't help. Doesn't help at all. Okay, so if this was the navel, navel's going to be here. This will be the start of the legs. He's at attention, so the legs are like right together. And then they come down. The bottom of the knees. I keep focusing on the bottom of the knees because until I started drawing that diagram, I kept thinking the knees were. I would have drawn them I feel like I would have put them right here instead of up here. So that's something like I kind of picked up from that first exercise, was that the bottom of the knee should be around that area. That's if I'm drawing the ideal man, and if it calls for that. I mean, if I'm drawing like a dwarf, course, I wouldn't draw the bottom of the knees right there because he's a dwarf. Remember, he's like at attention with his feet facing forward, so bottom of the knees. Oh, I messed up. We're going to line 0 because line 0 is the ground. Line 0, you don't see it because I haven't widened the canvas to show it. So let me do that right now. Line 0 will be here. Bottom of the knees. Bottom of the calves should be around here, according to our other diagram. So it's going to like taper in. And this would be foot. Okay, I'm getting quiet now. That's crappy. Alright, there we go. That, clean it up. Clean it up just because he looks like he's got a peg leg right now. Difference between cleaning up the image to make it look readable and like trying to render it. I'm gonna be right back. BRB, guys. I think there's something going on with my dogs, so I'm gonna check on them. BRB, and just while I'm away, enjoy the tunes of the Mars Volta Moloch Walker. Hey, what's going on? Y'all don't know what I did. You probably can't hear shit because I didn't turn on the mic. I didn't turn off the mic. So, sorry about that. I just thought of that when I left. So, okay, to answer everyone's questions, this book that I'm going through, The Figure, for all it's worth, it's about everything involving the figure. The exercise we started with was about the basic proportions, and the second exercise was about the female basic proportions, and I skipped this. This is more of an at a glance. It wasn't really an exercise, and I really didn't feel like drawing the same thing over again. I wanted to get onto some different exercises, so I skipped that. I didn't draw the children because I didn't feel like drawing children right now, and I went to the flat diagram, which is exercise 1, the basic proportions drawn in perspective, and specifically drawn the way this page has been drawn. And there's a method of creating this diagram that's very cumbersome and annoying that forces you to grid out everything in a very technical manner and then draw the figure over and over again. So by the time we're done with this exercise, we'll have drawn it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He doesn't have it near 6 times, but I took the liberty of drawing it in. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 2 more forms to draw, and then I still have to draw him sitting in perspective and sitting again here with this little shadow. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw this thing too. I'm just drawing everything on the page, but I'm following the directions of the book, and the directions of the book suck because it's a study exercise that makes things kind of suck. By that I mean that it's a hard way of doing things because it makes you break down the steps of the body in a way that you normally intuitively pick up from nature. So you see someone lying on the ground, you just see the foreshortening. But this is a way to it's visually breaking down how the body exists in a perspective plane. So that's what this exercise is about. It's the first step to that. If we'll go to the next one, it's going to get harder. It's going to get on to like translating the image we're doing today into 3 dimensions. And we'll even go through and label everything, I think, next time. And then we're just kind of redrawing the same grid. And then see, so what we're doing here in the next lesson, you're going to break down, you can't see my hand, I don't know why I did that. We're going to break down this perspective figure to the 3D figure, back to the perspective figure in the grid, and then we're going to create another grid that's based upon diagonals and certain important markings that will translate to the next exercise, which would be basically drawing the body without drawing all this other crap. And then how to adjust posture according to this grid. And once you learn all this stuff, it helps out in the future. It's helped me a lot already. I can tell just in the way I'm thinking and the way I'm noticing certain things, specifically the bottom of the knee. And then it's going to get on to even harder crap. More lines, more grids. Looks like you're going to have to involve compass stuff here. Dotted lines. Groups in perspective. Groups in relation to each other in perspective. Really, just a lot more perspective. It's all perspective. And then here we're going to begin doing the mannequin frame in different actual poses. And this will get, to me, this is more fun to draw. And by more fun, I mean it's easier for me to do this than it is to do this perspective stuff. So this part is the most important part for me to go through personally. And when we get to these gestures and these figures, it'll be a lot easier for me to get on board with everything. And then we're gonna, if you go through the book, we're gonna go. I'm just gonna go through as much as I can, however long it takes me. If it takes me like a month or something, I'll do it. But this is my personal practice that I wanted to broadcast and just narrate so that people understand how to use this book and how I'm using it. I mean, someone might see this and go, man, he doesn't know what he's doing, but I'm learning from what I'm doing right now. So that's my goal, is to learn for myself. This stuff's cool. I want to get into this. This looks way more fun to me, drawing the anatomy. But and then this stuff, this is fun. But like, this stuff will be easier for me to do, having done all this other bullshit. It's not bullshit, but to me it feels like bullshit because it's hard. But that's the learning, like I said. And if this is your first time listening in, I've done this 2 other times already. And I will also be starting another session of live streams. I'll label all of them, but I'm going to start doing paint-overs of my own work and fixing my portfolio. And I have a week and a half to do it until next Friday. It's the beginning of South by Southwest, and I intend to go there for networking and marketing purposes to get my name out and show off my work to people that I meet in the film festival portion of the event. And I'm giving myself this week and a half to kind of bust my ass and redo a lot of my portfolio work. And when I get into that stream, I'll explain what I'm doing and why, and how I'm thinking about it. But if you do want to watch that live stream, I highly recommend you go and watch all the Critter critiques with Crimson Daggers. Watch them all straight through, and just sit there and listen to everything they say. And then I also recommend that you I recommend you listen to all the videos on Crimson Daggers, because I think the biggest thing I've realized this past few weeks is I've been learning so much and not really thinking about learning. I've just been naturally picking up lots. And then yesterday, 2 days ago, it clicked that what I need to do is clear, and that is fix my portfolio. And I need to bring 2 parts of my brain together. Let's get to drawing while I'm talking. The 2 parts of my brain are the art director, production design portion, because I am a production designer and I have been an art director, but it was for a different industry. It was very similar. And then I have this illustrator portion, and for some reason I never brought the 2 together, and now I'm going to do it, and it's going to help me so much. I'm excited. But I would like to invite everyone to listen in on my own personal journey of getting more clients and making a better portfolio. And you're all invited. You're all invited. And seeing as how I don't know how many people are actually doing this real live stream where they're really narrating everything and explaining and breaking down certain things anymore, but I want to do it. I like doing it. I like listening to podcasts, and I find that when I listen to the critters or any of the live streams from Dave or Dan while I'm drawing, I'm just naturally picking up so much they're telling me, and it hasn't occurred to me until recently to really apply exactly what they're saying. It's just stupid that I haven't thought of that sooner. But anyway, more will be explained in days to come. This is a good read. All this stuff's also found. This is sidetrack talk. All this stuff is found on the Crimson Dagger's resource. It's this article about edges in painting and the importance of edges in painting and how you can utilize those and not utilize those. And it's an amazing little read here. I hear lots of the... Oh, I've been watching so many videos back to back while I'm drawing. I've been listening to them as I draw. And I've listened to all the interviews, and I kind of re-listen to some and go back through. And I just hear some of the stuff that people were asking, and like... They want everything explained, and everything's already explained and written out. And it's so great. It's awesome. You just got to go in and look for it. And otherwise, if it's not explained, I kind of feel like I'm going to do that now. I take it upon myself to do that, because I'm getting practice out of this by doing these exercises. But I think that other people can get the practice too. And it's better. It's always more fun if it's a group of people doing work. It's just more fun to see that like you're not alone out there doing it. Okay, two more bodies, and then we're gonna do these perspective ones. These, like I say, perspective. We're gonna do these more voluminous, 3D ones. But let's get these two knocked out real quick, and let's get done with this, so we can move on to bigger, better things, and particularly actual like rendering, drawing stuff. Anyway, okay. This is 0. This is 8. That's going to help me, which means the midpoint right about here, I'm going to say that's 4. 5. 7, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5. See, I'm just kind of eyeballing it, but I think that's necessary. I don't think it's necessary. I just want to try and get it down by visually. 7, line 6, line 5. There we go. 4, 3, 2, 1. No. 3, 2, 1. I feel like maybe that could be a super 0. 1. Let's move this one up, and we'll erase this one. Okay. So anyway, sorry if you're just listening and not watching, then I know that just sounded like a bunch of random crap. I'm just making the notches and the next series of grids for my next series of bodies for this gridded body exercise in the figure for all it's worth. And it's worth a lot. The answer is it's worth a lot. It's not really a question, but okay. Now, there's something that I hadn't done in this one. This middle figure, I did not make the width of the body 2 1/3 heads, which is what we were supposed to have done at the beginning. I did that, and if you came in late in the stream, this first little body here, I called it my guide. It looked really off and terrible, so I readjusted it because I think the head shape that he's using just looked different from the head shape. I had like a taller, more slender head than he did, and it made for this awkward looking dude. So I just kind of readjusted it and made it fit. It's still proportioned to 8 heads, But I think it's just more of a natural body shape, and it follows the same structure of proportions that was outlined in the book. So my point is, these two lines do not represent the width of the body that we should be using. These two lines are the grid lines that I put in for this body here, down all this stuff down here. Like, depending on what lines I use, I'm going to either completely skew him or make him like super foreshortened. So like if I use this as the left and that's the right, or vice versa, you know, his head would be like way over here and his like shoulders would be like super far out to here. And this line actually doesn't follow the perspective, so let's ignore that one actually. Whoa, wrong one. This doesn't exist because it doesn't follow the perspective vanishing point. So these two lines. So it'd be like heads way over here, shoulders way out here, and then like, you know, be super foreshortened. I'm gonna use, and I know this is looking super complicated to anyone that just jumped in, or like it just looks like whoa, it's just a mess. But it didn't start off that way. And if you just joining in, I'm not focusing on rendering. I'm not focusing on making it look entirely perfect. I'm focusing on learning, so you're going to see me mess up a lot. And I'm just going to be struggling through some of this stuff. Some of this stuff's a little easy. It's that most of this particular lesson and these next few ones are going to be hard for me because I just don't normally do this. This kind of perspective-driven setup. You can probably hear that banging noise. That's my Wacom tablet, and I lifted it up just now. I just kind of banged it around on accident. Okay. Let's say there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten this area that I'm about to work with so I can kind of take out that clutter. Visually, it's just like distracting to me. I'm going to turn this on multiply. I'll turn this on screen to make it lighter. And it's really faint right now. If you can't see it, I'm sorry. But I'll turn it back on in a second. I'm just going to take this darker tone, the line tone, real quick and just shade in the area that I want to use for this body. And the only reason I'm doing this is to make it visually less cluttered for me because I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing here. I'm just going to turn it onto a screen mode just to lighten up this area. That's probably even the wrong way to do it. It's not enough color overlay. I'm just going to overlay something. A light gray. Light gray. I just need to differentiate it. It's just, there we go. It's like white now. Perfect. It was just messy and it's just bothering me because I can't focus in the way I need to focus in on. Okay, so I'm going to divide this now directly in half on a new layer. I'm just going to flatten the whole damn thing. Let's see. Flatten. Okay, so we find the halfway point. Ignore these lines because those are for the bottom. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay? I don't know how y'all's look if you're actually following along, or in the future if you're listening to this in some few days down the line. I hope it doesn't look as messy as this. But it doesn't matter if it does. I should start a thread where people post up their versions of what we just did. That'd be a good idea. Oh shit. And then we can all see how, like, the honest truth. No one used any of the tools. Just sit there and work it out. Oh man, it's going long. I need to finish. It's taking forever. Okay, so here are the lines we did before. 0, 1, 2. That might not have been 2. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just say that's 8. That one up here. No, don't do that. See, okay, so I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because this was supposed to be 8. and I'm going to make this 8, and it's going to stay 8, because I want to force myself to draw the grid properly, because that's part of this exercise. I want to draw it properly. I don't want to half-ass it. If this is 0 and this is 8, I already did this. I can't see what I did because I flattened the damn thing, but whatever. It's a 7, 6, 5, 4. That's halfway point. That's about right. 4. It looks right at least. 3, 2, 1. Oh man, it looks so messy. Alright, but don't worry. Don't worry. I said don't worry, but what I mean is I don't care. I'm just going to draw it in. There we go. Clean it up just a little bit. Where was our B? Oh, we erased B and A. Okay, so once again, A, B, C. So B is here, which means you got to put in a line to mark B, just to follow, so it's easier for us to follow. Adjust. Let's attach it to the vanishing point. Adjust it. There we go. That's good. That's good. That'll do, pig. Okay. On a new layer, I'm going to do this in black because it's hard to see. It's not hard to see, but it's hard for me to, I want to really differentiate what I'm doing here. He's done this twice. He's done one with the head to the vanishing point and one with the head to the foreground. So, fill in the 16 units by the following the flat diagram. Alright, never mind. That's just another. I'm going to flip it. By what I mean by flip it is I wanted to draw the head closest first. So I'm going to draw this one. Because I haven't done that yet. I've drawn the feet kind of like that already. I just want to do something new. So let's draw the head and just follow the same rules. The neck, a third of the way down from line 2 should be the top of the shoulders, and this is the widest part of the body, so it has to reach all the way out there. A third way down, all the way out here. The bottom of the pectoral muscles are right past line 2. Line 3, let's take a look at our guide. Oh man, I did that thing where I numbered it backwards, right? Line 6, which is line 3, the bottom of the pectoral muscles, because this is line 1, that's line 2, that's line 3. Line 5 is the elbows. Down to line 4, which is the wrists, the hands. Same thing here. Pectoral muscles, elbows, forearm to wrist, hands. That's pretty tiny. Might be a little off. That should be this wrists line up with the crotch, which means this is the navel, which means his body's going to be something like that. And this is going to be just the quads. And it's going to slope into the knees because the bottom of the knees rests on the second division before the bottom. In our case, the bottom is the top, and it's working backwards. So, bottom of the knees, the calves, and then this is supposed to be the bottom of the foot, so it's kind of like bottom of the foot up to the calves, knees and up. Bottom of the foot up to the calves, knees and up. It just kind of got that shape, this shape, that S curve kind of thing going on. Down, S, down. Y'all could probably be like actually taking your time doing this. Maybe spend a couple hours sitting there drawing it, but I just don't want to do that. I want to just do an hour session of this and just get in the basics of what we're doing, which is learning, in this exercise, learning the perspective, using this grid. And I'm never going to draw a grid doing this kind of stuff. I know I'm not. But now that I understand how it operates, if in the future you have to like draw, if you get stopped in the park and all you have is your sketchbook and a pencil and a ruler, and an art director from Weta Blizzard Disney, best company you imagine, comes and says, draw me a body in perspective right now, you would be able to do it. Pick your company of choice and just pretend it was that, because you would have practiced. And they would say, you have skills beyond that of a computer-aided artist. I will hire you. We gotta do the same thing over here somewhere. We look so dirty. So cluttered. Let's move on. New layer. I'm going to use this little polygon tool to highlight an area that I want to work with. It's kind of cheating. Kind of don't care though. You're going to hear me. This is an internal struggle I'm putting with myself. Just this like, I shouldn't use that tool, but do I really care? I do care. I just, right now, visually I can't. It's just too cluttered. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I don't ever see it happen again. New layer. I'll draw the lines in the proper way though. Okay, let's ignore this line. This stuff here, we gotta ignore that because that's not what I want to use. If this is A and this is C, then halfway it's actually right, maybe right here. That's B. Don't use that line, because that line, and your drawing might not have that, but in my case, B, well, I guess B would be right here. It's about halfway. I'm not going to measure it, because I want to see if I can just get it down with my eyes. Let's shrink that a bit. Okay. We're putting in our guide, fix one point to B, adjust the other point to the vanishing point, and because my point of origin isn't at the vanishing point, it won't rotate properly. Put your point of origin on the vanishing point. This is what I was trying to talk about earlier, I just didn't do it. And now it'll rotate along the exact vanishing point you want it to rotate along. And it's just a lot nicer to use. Let me just copy and paste that again. Select all, copy, paste. V for Vendetta. Everyone, if you're new in this, if you didn't hear my old chats, my old streams, or if you didn't hear the beginning of this one, I don't have two screens. I can't see the chat. If you don't see me check the chat, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get through this lesson without taking up 4 hours of time. And I'm really just narrating. I'm not trying to like go into this like teaching thing. I'm just trying to narrate what I'm doing so people will see how someone else does it, basically. Because I know how to read a book, and I figure why not do this? Okay, put the origin point at the vanishing point. Point of origin, and then we're going to rotate again for A. Enter, paste, because they're same thing for C. Just to set up the guides. If you got a ruler, use a ruler. You would just be lining up your ruler. It's the same difference. I'm not trying to get too hurt about it. So, alright, because we're following the same grid as before, this line is 0, that line is 8. If you listened last time, I kind of have it backwards because 0 is on the bottom here, and the head, this is going to match, this new drawing is going to match this guide now, but in perspective. So I'm going to keep this at 8, keep this at 0. These lines are pretty correct because they match up the same guides as earlier. I'm not going to go in and do anything like that. I'm just going to flatten the whole thing, put a new layer to draw on top, and start with the head, just because I've been doing that. I guess we should start with the feet just to try it. So let's do the feet. bottom of the feet right here, because he's at attention. So he's gonna be like awkwardly close feet. I don't think the brush is. I feel like the brush transfer mode's on. Maybe it's not. I guess not. I want just a hard, solid brush. There we go. Yeah. Okay. It's just looking too fuzzy to me. Feet. Goodness. Feet. We're gonna go. Oh wow. Okay, so let's look at how hard this is for shortened right now. This is line 1, which means the bottom of the calves need to hit here. Which means I need to draw the feet like that. Like, I need to start by like placing in the bottom of the calves, and then this is the bottom of the foot, right? So let's just kind of do this weird shape to represent the bottom of the foot, and this will go up the ankle of the calf, and same here, kind of force it in. Okay, so if you are following this exercise, and from the beginning you've only been drawing from the head down, try drawing from the feet up, because it's not at all the same. Yeah, just try drawing from the feet up. I just recommend it, because it's fucking weird, and it's just so I mean, it's not weird, but it's weird. Like, my hand's not used to doing it now. The bottom of the knee is going to be up here, like we said before. Look at that S curve line. What is that? Line 3. 1, 2, 3. Line 3 is right here on the quad, which means line 4 up here. That's where the crotch is, so that's where this leg is going to end. There we go. And right here again, the leg's going to end here because that's where the crotch is. Kind of go slope it out, and then slope it around, because it's kind of pushed out that way. This might not look right at all, but whatever. I feel like this is a lot harder, just to switch sides like that. Switch from feet up instead of head down. I wonder if there's anyone that was doing it from the feet up from the beginning. If anyone thought, I'll do it from the feet up. Because normally people start with the head and work their way down. Or they start by drawing the top. Maybe we should start designing characters from the feet up, just to get a better grasp on that. Okay. Up through the torso. If this is line 4, and that's line 5, line 5 is the navel. Like navel, which means this should be out further. And this can be more like that. Line 5. Line 6 is supposed to be the bottom of the pectoral muscles. And remember, oh wow, here's something I wasn't paying attention to. Okay, the body should not be wider than these 2 lines. And these are my 2 lines here. But look how small that guy is. He's like a distorted freak thing. So, if we look at how far the foot comes out on the bottom, because we're drawing from the feet up now, let's look at the foot. The foot comes out almost halfway between A and B. What is halfway between A and B here? It's right here. The foot should be that wide according to this grid. B, same thing. It should be about halfway. Look how wide the feet need to be compared to what I was drawing. How terrible. Okay, let's erase that. Oh man, fuck. Look at how much we're learning. Look at, see all the mistakes we caught? Those are crazy mistakes. I don't know why I didn't just see that though. Of course, it looked terrible as I was drawing it, but I was just like, why does it look so bad? And then, pay attention to the actual grid, like the damn lesson tells you to, and you learn all this stuff. Right, so the edges of our feet need to come all the way out to here. It's so skewed. Okay. And then up here at line 6, So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the widest part of his body. Move across. It's the widest part of his body. It's not going to get any wider than that. It's probably going to be right here, actually. Because that line... Okay. This is the bottom of the knees. Let's see how far the knees really come out, though. The knees are lined up with the foot, so the knees are going to be like right here, taking up this chunk. And this knee, too, is going to be like taking up this chunk. It's going to be pretty wide. Where else are we doing here? The way I've drawn it, his forearm kind of touches the edge on the original drawing. His forearm also touches the edge, so at 0.5 we're going to have another connection. So if this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here's his forearms touching right here. It's way up here. Way the hell up there. And at line 4 is the wrists. And the wrists are almost touching. They're close, at least the way I drew it. So here they are, almost touching with the hands, like right here. The wrists. So we connect that, connect it. Such a struggle, such a fight. My eraser's huge. Okay, smaller for this. There we go. Alright. Here's their fist. Man, it's such a... Okay. The groin is at 4. That's the halfway point. This is 4. The guides remain the same from drawing to drawing. Okay, and this, let's look how far this hip goes out. This hip goes out about just outside of this line here. I feel like that might be incorrect to follow. So we'd have to follow this perspective line, pretend that we drew this in here. And then that should be the outside of the hip. So it'd be like knees, hip, same here, hip, and I feel like that's just a little off. I feel like it because it looks like it. It's a good thing about drawing, is that you can totally see what's off. Let's do the feet, the big ass feet thing, because we've skewed it so much. Maybe don't skew it as much as I did, but it's kind of a challenge now. You kind of really see how the body distorts. Crap. So I guess it'd be like this. It's almost cartoony. Like, it's such a distortion. It's so skewed, but there we go. I mean, that's actually looking pretty good. Let's pretend that this is 3 dimensions. That would be like that. That helps me to think in 3 dimensions. One thing that's helped me in my art is that I used to do mask making, sculpting masks, mold making, and all that good stuff. This is the top. So it means the head's like right here. That's the neck. The bottom of the pectorals is right here. And gosh, the head needs to be, remember the head's like half and half, so it's like half needs to be here, half needs to be here. It's so awkward. Remember, it's 2D. The thing is, I'm trying to force like a 3D form, and it didn't help that I did those contours. But it's gonna look like a paper dude, so it's gonna look a little weird. Just get past that part. It's gonna look weird. And where's this? This is 5. That's the elbow. Oh man, I gotta clean that up a lot. Clean it up just so it's readable, just so people could kind of see what the hell I did here. They'd be like, oh, it looks like he really pushed on that one and had a hard time. There we go. Ooh, okay. Let's do that. There we go. That's a little closer there. Just work it in. Work it in. Draw it the feet up. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's good. That's about closer. I'm gonna stop, I think, right there. Okay. That was hard. That was hard. That's hard. I mean, still, like, I can see the imperfections. I can see where I'm messing up. And, it's just such a weird thing. So I should have taken a guide and put that in. Alright. Try it that way. Try it from the feet up. Try any of those from the feet up. In fact, try this first one from the feet up. And, you get, like, your mind blown. You just realize, like, how skewed certain things are. Of course, I made it that way because I used the same vanishing point. And I went ahead and decided to, like, widen it a lot. And because I widened it a lot, I did this to myself. Whatever. Okay. You get the gist of it. There we go. Let's take a look at the chat just real quick. Let me see what's going on. Why not just use the pen tool? The pen tool, like this, the pen tool here in Photoshop. I'm trying to pretend that I'm not actually on Photoshop. I'm trying to pretend that, like, let's say y'all are following along. I'm just drawing on paper. I'm just going to draw on paper and follow along with this book. The point of the exercise that I'm doing is that I'm not going to use the tools of Photoshop. I mean, sometimes I'm using it. Sometimes you can go back in the stream and watch it later on. You can watch it from the beginning. You'll see that every now and then I'll pull out a tool. I have a good reason for doing it. It's either to save some time as far as, like, setting up some of these grids. I might copy and paste just to get the line exactly the way I want. The same way you would use a ruler if you were drawing this on paper, and that ruler is a tool for you to use. So I will use my Photoshop tools. But when it comes time to really draw in the body, I want to draw it in with my hand. I want to get my wrist used. I want to get my wrist accustomed to moving in certain angles that it's not used to. And I want to get my mind used to rendering these objects in 3 dimensions and, like, flattening it and doing all the things computer does without using a computer. It's solely a study for exercise purposes, and it's solely me forcing myself to do stuff that's harder in a harder format than I would normally do. Like I said, like, if I wanted to draw a person in, like, 3 dimensions lying down, I would just start sculpting in, like, the shape. I'd probably end up using form, but, like, I would just, like, draw out, like, just the 3 dimensions, and then later on I'd get some reference, and then just I would just get reference and correct. See what I'm doing here, just the contours. I use these contour lines when I sketch a lot to draw, like, a forearm with a wrist and a fist or something. And that's just the basic sketch, and then I go in and fix it with reference if I needed to. If I got it, if I nailed it, I mean, great for me, but, you know, growing up, I practiced drawing hands enough that where I feel pretty comfortable drawing hands. But I still look at hands. If I really need to draw the hand and make it look right, I always look at my hands. Let's say that's like an angry hand or something. Just kind of like, this forearm. This should be longer. And actually, the reason I know it should be longer now is specifically from doing these studies. Like, I know that this should be like a head unit, right? And I would just I wouldn't just start drawing the arm. I start drawing the whole body, like real quick, like a gesture of what I want. So my method of actually drawing versus this study method are completely different. They're not the same, and there's a reason for that, because it's just exercise. It's just like okay, in sports, if a football player is sprinting back and forth across the field, and someone's saying like, "Why don't you just play football?" This is the fundamental exercises to get better at football. I hate football. I don't watch sports, so I'm not going to use analogies like that again. But what I mean to say is that these are the exercises that I'm not going to do this every single time I draw all the time, but these are going to help me strengthen my base skills, so that when I do need to draw, and I'm drawing my normal method, I can go, wait a second, is that forearm one head unit long? Because typically on most human beings, the forearm is one head unit, and you can even kind of put your head to your forearm and look ridiculous and see that it actually is kind of like your head size, the size of your head from top to bottom. It's a little off. Depends. Unless you have a weird shaped head. In which case, I'm sorry. But at least you're going to be good at drawing. So, like, if I really wanted to draw. But now also I know that this is like a head unit. And this is like 2/3 of a head unit. Right? Because that's what this diagram shows us here. So, that's why I'm making. That's why you see me struggling on this, because I'm not trying to just do it. Anyway, okay. I think I'm gonna end it because the stream's going pretty long. I want to do these, but I need to actually do some work. I really want to draw those things, but I can't. What I will do later is I'll get online. And I'm going to go through, I wanted to go through all my portfolio and critique and paint over my own work. And I have a bunch of reasons for doing it, and I'll explain a lot more later when I actually do that stream. It'll probably be tonight. I'll do it tonight. I'll get online and just go through each piece one at a time and just rework it, repaint over it. What I'm doing is I'm combining my skills that I know from art direction and production design and applying them directly to my illustration, which is something I've never done before, which is stupid for me not to do. But I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to go through and just critique my own work. And it's going to help me. And maybe y'all can learn something from it. Maybe no one's going to learn anything from it. The point is, whether or not I was going to stream it, I was still going to go and make the changes. But I'd like to do it live to show people maybe this is what you should do to your own work. This is what you should do to get more improvement in your own portfolio. And the biggest thing I will tell you to do, if you do want to sit in on that session with me, or if you want to watch it later after I've archived it, I want you to watch the critter critiques and Crimson Daggers, because I watched like all of them yesterday while I was drawing, or I listened to them and watched them. But they're amazing. They're amazing things that they go over in there. And oh, you know what? The best ones. Watch Dan Warren's mentoring classes. If you haven't watched those, my God, watch them. You'll understand exactly what I'm doing to myself later on when I do my own paint overs. And if you feel so inclined, and if you feel that you're learning some from that, just let me know. I'd like to know if I'm actually helping. Look, I know that the hand has a separate muscle group here, so the thumb actually kind of be like out here. Anyway, not entirely like that. I just got sidetracked by a drawing. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to end the stream now to get some work done. I'll be on tonight doing a paint over of my own work. If you do want to join me, I highly recommend you watch the mentoring class, or you watch the critters, or watch all of them like I did, because it's going to help you see what I'm talking about. My name is Michael Coronado. I live in Austin, Texas. It is currently 3:52 p.m. I'm going to do some drawing. You can view my work at www.andrewloomis.com. mciii.net. I'm on Crimson Dagger's forum. I'm on conceptart.org. I'm on DeviantArt. I'm on CG Hub. My username is Mike086. And on CG Hub, it's actually MCIII because someone else had the other username. You can view my work on those websites, on those forums. I appreciate any feedback and critiques. Otherwise, you can find me on Facebook, www.facebook.com/IIIMCIII. You'll find links to everything every other place. So if you find me in one place, you'll probably find links to my other sites and everything else. Anyway, thank you for listening in. I'm going to keep doing these studies. I'll announce them. I really need to develop a schedule. I don't know when I'll do them. But I'll be doing the studies on a regular basis. And I'll be doing morning drawing sessions at around 7 a.m. Central Time on a regular basis. Those will just be me sketching to warm up my hand for the day's work. And then I will be doing, for this next week and a half, critiques and paint errors of my own work. So I'm going to go through my own portfolio and just rework everything. And if you want to be part of that, I'll be announcing it on all the stuff I can think of, like DeviantArt and Crimson Daggers. Watch the critters, watch the mentoring class, listen to what they're saying. If you don't understand, I can tell you what I'm hearing. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I will post this online. And until next time. Cool. Thanks for streaming. Where is it? Oh, I've seen. Yeah, if you go to crimsondaggers.com, you'll see the blood sports, you'll see the critters, you'll see Dan, and you just got to look through the back catalog on the archived videos. And if you want to go back and wrong one. If you want to go back and watch the other exercises that I do, it's the same thing as today. I just go through, talk my way through it, explaining how I'm doing it, what I'm looking at. Ideally, you might follow along and learn on your own. I'm not really teaching so much as I'm just doing the exercise and explaining my thought process. I'm going to continue doing this stuff. So anyway, hope y'all are getting something from this, and I will talk to y'all later. So let's do an outro. Oh wait, I guess right. I gotta turn on the audio. Anyway, also I'm new to live stream. I'm new to doing lots of this stuff, so it's I'm learning. I'm learning how to get stuff done. Thank you very much.